All right. November 9, folks, marked the 25th anniversary of the most significant event in recent German history, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Sven Littkowski was there, and he's here to tell us about the experience. I hope I got the name right.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica. You're German?
That is correct.
The wall originally was to separate East Germany from West Germany.
Yes, the wall separated the eastern part of Germany from the western part. And since the capital was inside the eastern part, it also...
And the capital was Berlin.
Exactly. The former capital was Berlin.
Yeah.
And so there was also a wall around the western part of Berlin, which was surrounded by eastern Germany.
Okay, and east would have been communist?
Yes, the eastern part was communist.
And the west would have been...
social capitalist.
Oh.
Not just plain capitalist, but social capitalist.
Which meant what, exactly?
Free healthcare, free education, and some other benefits.
So it was a socialist country?
It was Western, it was capitalistic, but in order to compete with the communist part, because they offered all these things, like free education and so on, so the Western part also had to step up and offer some things, so they called themselves social capitalist.
Yeah. Did Eastern Germany, did the folks who lived in East Germany want democracy at the time, or were they happy with the communist government, or no?
Who would not want to have democracy? But the problem is, after the end of the World War, the Soviet Union, as one of the 4 war parties, to get Germany, to make it losing the war, fortunately, controlled that part of Germany. And their system was a communist system. And so in order to spread communism all over Europe, so all the countries in their group were being also communist countries.
Okay.
People wanted democracy, but they couldn't get it.
Okay. To bring the wall down, was there a national vote for this, or what was the decision at the time to bring the wall down?
That the wall came down on that day was actually a very big accident.
An accident?
It was not intended that it happened that way, but most people actually don't know about that. During these days, more and more people found ways to escape from Eastern Germany to other countries like Hungary, Czechoslovakia. And so the SED, that is a political party which ruled Eastern Germany, and the only one which was actually supposed to rule based on their laws, that means no democracy, they were being under pressure. They had to make more and more allowances. There will be mass demonstrations of hundreds of thousands of persons. So they were being under pressure. They had to make allowances. One day, that was November 9, they decided from now, people from the east were being finally able to travel to the west, Western Berlin, Western Germany, but it was not meant to be in effect right away. They wanted to do it for one of the next days so they could control it.
So how come the wall came down November 9?
Actually, when a reporter asked the political speaker, when is this new law taking effect? The speaker was not informed well, because this change was too fast, and he guessed right now, which was not true. And so what happened? Hundreds and then thousands and then 10,000s of unbelieving citizens of the East came closer to the wall. Normally you could never do that. You would have been arrested, or you would have been, if I can say that on TV, shot actually. Yeah? They would kill you if you come too close.
They would kill you if you came too close to the wall?
Yes, exactly.
Where did you live, by the way?
I lived in the western part of Berlin, in the free part.
In the free part? Okay.
So now, you have to imagine the situation of the soldiers. Normally they've been supposed to shoot, but for the first time in history, not just 5 or 10 people came to them, but thousands.
And they couldn't shoot everyone?
It would have been too many, so they decided not to shoot, and that was good luck. Just good luck. It could have been ending in a very different way.
Okay. Were you allowed to go across to East Germany before the wall came down?
Western people, if they apply for that, and after a lot of controls, even body checks, could often go into the eastern part.
Did you
go?
They
had to decide, they had to state which route they would go, where they would go. I went 1 or 2 times into eastern Berlin, And the experience is a very different one than being in Western Berlin.
Okay. What was it like now that day when the wall came down? And when we say the wall came down, what does that mean? Did it physically come down? Did they knock down the wall?
It physically did not come down on that day, but the barrier it meant for the people came down. Basically, there was a lot of pressure on the border troops, so they had to make allowances as well and let them finally pass to some few crossing points to the wall. But motivated by that, people became very brave, and so we had hours later many people stepping on top of the wall. Again, you could never do that. You would have been shot down.
How high was the wall?
And the wall was, I would say, between 2 meter and 3 meter, I'm estimating, tall. So they helped each other with this kind of hand ladder and so on. And yeah, and so for the first time, people were being on top. And that means they dominated over the wall. And in the days after, people started to come with their hammers and
knock it physically.
Knock it down.
Yeah. And it's gone now. It's there.
Most of that is gone. We have 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers of wall still remaining as a memory. But otherwise, there's just a marking on the ground where there was a wall. And the wall was never just one single wall. It were been 2 walls in between mines and fences and docks and shooting guards and so on.
In German history, how important was that day?
The fall of the wall or the wall itself?
The fall of the wall.
I would say it was very important for that finally many families got reunited. In those days, people from the West sent their children into the East to buy from a bakery because the prices were being lower in the East. But then the wall was built and the children, even children were being forbidden to come back to their parents. So many children after 28 years, were being finally able for the first time to see, to speak to their parents.
Wow.
So it united many of us. Some people didn't like it, most of us liked it. Many people started to hug other people they just saw and wept together, laughed together, they invited each other. You
said some people didn't like it. Why?
Yes.
They wanted communist rule?
You have to understand the system in the East. There was 1 spy for each 180 persons.
Wow.
It had the biggest amount of spies in the eastern part. These spies were often not really, they didn't like to spy, but they were being pressed and forced to spy. Okay. Otherwise they would go into a jail or their family members would have big problems. So the eastern part of Germany had a big spy system. And some of these spies didn't like it because then their files would become public. People would know they had to spy. That's number 1. But there's another thing is, not everybody could manage the social capitalist system.
Okay.
Some people failed, had not any more good life, and so they wished back the war.
Okay. You live in Jamaica?
I live now in Jamaica, and I have a company here.
Oh, you have a company here. How long have you been in Jamaica?
Without interruption now, since 2007, without interruption.
You're going to go back to
Germany? I was been here before, several times.
You're going to go back to Germany?
I try each year, 1 time to go, and so far I do.
All right. There's a website that we could find out more about this if we...
Yes, for everybody who is actually interested.
And it's on the screen right there, Sven Littkowski, .name/d/wall.pdf.
I want to say you can write everything in uppercase, in lowercase, it doesn't matter.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming in. Great to meet you, sir.
It was my pleasure to be here.
All right. Managing Director of the Jamaica Focus Media Stream Corporation, Sven Littkowski. We stay in Germany for a bit. More on Denk Pharma after the break. Stay with us, please.